welcome again. This is Dr. Bart Rademaker, Prescription for Your Transformation, hashtag real people, hashtag real conversations. And I'm delighted today to be talking to some of my favorite people in the world. On your right, you'll see Wendy, and I've got to fix this thing up here so that we have it all nicely set up. And then on your left, I believe it's going to be Robert Evans. And so these are frequent flyers on this show, and which is great. So Robert, thanks for coming back, and Wendy, thanks for helping me out, with this amazing, platform that we actually have here. But today is really all about living your adventures. I think Dalai Lama said something to the effect that you spend all your time and your money, spend all your time working so you can get money, and then at the end of your days, you spend all your money staying alive. And so the truth is that, what kind of things, what kind of adventures do you really want to live your life? What kind of excitement, what kind of fun, what kind of experiences, what kind of legacy in a sense you want to leave, for others because of all the amazing things that you have done. Are you going to stay in that little cocoon that you call your town or your home? And so today is about that. Today is about discovering what's actually really possible out there. This is not just for the rich and famous who've got tons of money, who can go out, globetrotting, around the world and do whatever it is that they want. This is about you and the man who's actually put this together. And I want to thank Robert. Robert Evans, CEO and founder of Live Your List, as well as No Regrets Productions. And he's got this amazing program out there so that anybody who really wants to say, hey, you know what? I want to do something different. I want to do something amazing. I want to do something that's transformative with a bunch of really cool people in some other part of the world. And Mr. Robert Evans is the one that can do that for you. So welcome.
Oh, thank you. Hey, hi, Wendy. Hi, Bart. Thank you very much. It's good to be here again.
So give us a little brief description, teaser of what your programs are all about. And so then we're going to go through the backgrounds and all the things that are happening this year.
Okay, sure. So my company, we got a film production company and a publishing company. Both of them and the entire focus, everything that I do, it revolves around inspiring people to live their bucket list. And so we started this about 3.5 years ago. It started off with some incredibly powerful trips around the world, Africa, Ecuador, Costa Rica, and it has evolved to, trips like that, one that's coming up in New Zealand, and it's evolving into books and mobile apps and that sort of thing. But everything is all about either featuring bucket list experiences and businesses or providing bucket list opportunities for people to be able to live to have extraordinary experiences. So that's what we're all about. And a big part of it is these international trips, and we do some pretty amazing things on these trips to really deliver on that promise.
So really what you're also saying is that, as we work, every day and do our regular stuff and follow our careers and take care of all of our obligations, and then we watch maybe on TV, all these other people having a great life because they get to do all these incredible things that you can only dream of. And part of the challenge is, of course, is that you don't even know where to start. If you want to go bungee jumping or, jumping out of an airplane or just seeing the most incredible, views or areas in the world, you wouldn't even know where to begin. And quite frankly, when you call up a travel agent and say, hey, you know what, let me get me to a different country, again, it's not the same thing because you don't have that guidance, those experts out there that can, number one, really guide you to see the incredible places, but also make it really safe. And in addition to that, make it an experience that you get to experience with a bunch of other cool people. And that is really what you do. And I found, I was fortunate enough to go on a trip in Ecuador in 2015 that was really quite transformative. And actually, honestly, and it was because of that trip, and I have to thank you for that, is that has led for me to be here today on this platform.
I love hearing that. Yeah, one of the things that we teach throughout everything that we do is to is to understand the power of having a bucket list, or we call it a life list, because the connotation that you got to do this right before you kick your bucket when you're sick or dying or whatever. We want to kind of get away from that. We want this to become a list that is about, it's your dream life. It really describes and defines your dream life. And it's more than just the adventure and the travel and that sort of thing. It's everything from relationships and the kind of relationships that you want, family, and your health and wellness, and making a difference, the work that you do, your mission and your purpose, and that sort of thing. So everything that we do around really trying to teach how powerful it is, one, to create that list that encompasses all of that, encompasses what would make your life amazing. It would be considered a dream life. And then in doing so, there's this powerful manifesting process that's activated just from the creation of that list. And I started this whole company because of that, because I saw what happened to me at the time that I created my list. And then once I activated that manifesting, principle in my life for that and I started putting just a little bit of attention on items on my list on, a consistent basis, everything just starts to fall in line. And all of a sudden I'm starting to live that life. And of course a big part of it is it stirs things up, and it also kind of, makes things complicated and challenging, and life sometimes gets turned upside down when you do something like this, but that's the path to living an extraordinary life.
And again, I think what's what's a hallmark of your trips is that you get to experience getting out of your own comfort zone, and that's where you truly grow. That's where you truly experience the magnificence of life, because you're stepping out of that zone, and you're guided again to do that. And then in addition to that, it's like you said, it's the relationships that you create. Just bonding with other people from different parts of the world, from totally different experiences or mindsets, and really finding not only camaraderie, but also respect and insight to how they get to live life differently, and working together or enjoying together the different types of awe-inspiring experiences that you have. So one question for you, Robert, is how did you ever get started?
Well, it started because of, I sat down one day and started to write out a list, and I decided to write out a list because I was really unhappy with life, very unfulfilled. Even though I had all the things that could, that typically people think makes a person happy. I had a successful business. I was making money. I had a business that, I considered, that made a difference in people's lives. But I recognized that I was also spending 90% of my time sitting in front of the computer, and I was feeling very unfulfilled as a result of that, because I'm a get out and into the world and live life. I'm literally, I don't have a home. I'm in my home right now, which is a travel trailer. I moved out of my apartment. I sold my house a couple of years ago, and I got this travel trailer that I'm remodeling right now. That's why the wood is all funky in the back here. But and so now I can just take my home wherever I go and work from my office and here in the trailer and that sort of thing. And that's because I realized that I am not the person that thrives by being in front of the computer. So I sat down one day and I said, well, what is it I really want in life? What do I want to experience? And I said, well, I never wrote out a bucket list. And so I started writing out that bucket list and started to, include all aspects of life. And the moment I did that, just changed everything. I just knew that I couldn't go back. So I just started to actively, work on items on my list to experience them, and some adventure, some health, some this and that, getting outside, and it was amazing. It was powerful. So I said, this is kind of my MO as an entrepreneur. My whole life is that I said, well, if this is what I want to do on a daily basis, is that if I want to live my list, well, then I need to create a business around it. And that's what I did. I created a business, and we call the business Live Your List Publications. It's all about inspiring people to live their list too. And so we created the first trip to Africa, Liberia, Africa, and everything just started to roll out from there.
Yeah, what I like that you have introduced in the whole concept of live your list is something that you did in your past, which is the messenger network. And really, it's about helping people get their message out there, kind of sort of what my platform is as well. And so that's why I definitely connected with you, because a lot of us out there are also really focused on how we can contribute to the world. What is it that we can actually do beyond ourselves? And it's an important part of our lives to have that, to experience the real fulfillment is not only to live these adventures, but also how to live life beyond yourself. And so part of what you do is not only the messaging, but also the charity work or the humanitarian work that you do.
Yeah, coming from the for the last 15 years, I've been involved in the transformational training world, the personal growth industry. And so it was a natural fit for me to be able to create programs and trips that were targeting that group of people. Because if you really looked at, if you sat down with someone who is a coach, an author, a speaker that does transformational work in any shape or form, from health and fitness to spiritual messages to entrepreneurs and that sort of thing, they their bucket list would include things like traveling to another country, speaking on stage, doing humanitarian work, making a difference, and that sort of thing. So we created trips that were specifically helping them live those elements on their list. They typically would not go out and create for themselves, but if we put it in front of them and said,
Right.
hey, come to Liberia, come to Ecuador, come to New Zealand with us. While you're here, why don't you get on stage and do a talk and then do a workshop? And then, hey, why don't you hang out with 25 or 30 other transformational leaders and mastermind with them? And then, why don't we also at the same time, let's go to areas of the countries and bring clean water filtration systems to them so we can save lives. So that's basically what we did, is we created trips that were designed to check off those particular parts of the list that someone like that would have, and that's exactly what we created. And New Zealand is kind of our grand finale of a 3.5 year project that we started. So it was pretty amazing.
Wendy is coming with us, right, Wendy?
Oh, I love New Zealand. Yeah. Actually, I was a student ambassador in Australia and New Zealand. So last time I was there, I had to be very, very official and proper. So it'd be kind of nice to.
Oh, we don't need that.
No.
Relax.
Bart and I are there. None of that's going on.
Well, you can talk about yourself, not me. I'm very proper, of course.
Or whatever.
When nobody's looking.
We'll tell some stories. Don't worry about it.
No stories. So what do you think about this, Wendy?
I think it's wonderful. And now it's like, while you were speaking, I was thinking like, wow, I've never done a bucket list. You've inspired me to put a bucket list together
Nice.
I'm very fortunate that I've been able to travel a lot, and I want to travel more. God. So still haven't made it to Italy yet.
Sounds like that's at the top of the list there.
One of them, yeah.
Nice.
Well,
so remember, it's not a bucket list. It's live your list.
That's true. That is true.
Or a
So
life
of all
list.
the places that you guys have traveled, because you are living your list, where's your favorite place to travel thus far?
Well, for me, it was Alaska. I went to Alaska 2.5 years ago and drove up there. It was a big trip, it was like almost an 8-week trip. And loved it so much that I went back last year. So I'm a big mountain person. So, that's the ultimate mountain location in the world. Now, New Zealand has became, and one of the reasons why we chose New Zealand is because it became one of the really top destinations that I wanted to go to, because it's got all of it. It's got the incredible mountains, it's got the culture, it's got the history, it's got the oceans, and you name it. And so I've never been to New Zealand, so I'm majorly checking off something on my list by going there.
You're gonna love it. And
Yeah.
the Maoris are really cool. The indigenous tribes there, the Maoris, oh my gosh, they have such a very, very rich and beautiful history and culture. So you'll love learning about them.
Yeah. And that's one of the great parts of our trip is that we've been invited to spend 3.5 days living with them, being amongst them for while we're there. So we're blown away by the opportunities that's been offered to us while we're there.
You'll get a kick out of it when you go. There's the place where they all, I guess you could say, worship, or where they gather. All on the walls, it's always very intricately carved, and they use the shells, the conch shells. They're very shiny for the eyes of their gods. So even at night, like because we had to sleep in there, it looked like all these like peoples and spirits were staring at you. It was.
Wow.
So if you get a chance to check that out, I highly recommend.
Oh, that's great. That's exciting. I'd never heard of that. That's awesome.
Well, just remember the spirits were there and they were watching you.
They were. I was a good girl. Of course, I had to be.
When someone says they're a good girl, that's usually not the case. So.
Yep.
Well, she's a boxer, so that already tells you something.
Yeah, I should go boxing tonight as soon as I finish your show.
So one of the things that is really exciting about the trip too is going to the Vanuatu, and that's the indigenous tribe, I believe, right?
No. The Wataha Nation is the Maori tribe, and that's in the North Island of north of Auckland. So that's where we're going. Vanuatu is just it's a separate island outside of New Zealand. What we'll be doing over there is we'll be doing just kind of relaxing because it's the end of the trip. But we'll also be bringing water filtration systems to areas there that desperately need it.
And tell us a little bit about these water systems, because I have to be honest with you, when we were going on the last trip, and I've done several medical missions abroad, and that's pretty much how I also got started with these humanitarian trips. And it's actually very fortunate to have gone on a trip back in 2001, I think it was, to El Salvador, and our entire group was actually nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. And so we would work hours and hours, doing surgeries and clinics, and those are amazing experiences. And so when I heard that, oh yeah, we're gonna bring some water solutions, to the Ecuadorians, to the jungle and the Andes, and I thought, really, that's not a big deal, but it really is.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of people don't think that New Zealand would have similar problems, but there are, we work with a water filtration system. My partner in this project, her name is Sprite Loriano, for the little over a decade now that she's been delivering these water filters around the world, all over the world. I mean, literally, many tens of thousands of people now have clean water as a result of her work. And these water filters are very high level water filters. In fact, they're using the same filtration system that's in dialysis machines. And they're lifelong filters, meaning that you don't have to actually replace the filters. They have a back flush system to them, so that you can continue to reuse them over and over as long as you use it and you're flushing it out and that sort of thing. So one filter can serve a community of 100 people. And when we go on these trips, we bring 50 to 100 filters so that we can serve thousands of people when we go there. So we actually come to an area. So we'll actually be going to an area in North Island, New Zealand, with the Maori tribe. They're going to be bringing us to a rural area where farmers are, and they have a problem with clean water. And so we'll be bringing these filtration systems out there that will ultimately serve communities of hundreds and hundreds of people out there. And then in Vanuatu, it being an island, often these types of islands have real issues with clean water. So we're talking about bringing a filtration system that is is cleaning water for the first time in you know, centuries in those communities where, like in Africa, when we brought the filtration systems to the areas there, um, when people, we actually demonstrated. We actually go to a stream. It's a stream or a pond or a pool of water that is nasty and just like, oh my God, people are actually drinking this. But the way they're drinking it is they're boiling it. That's the only way that they can, prevent mass casualties basically, and it still doesn't stop it from happening. Kids still get sick, and people still die from dirty water. And we're literally going there and we're setting it up and we're demonstrating it, and we're showing it dark murky water being turned into clear crystal clean water. And once we're done, we take a drink of it, and people can't believe that we're doing this. They're like, you're crazy, but it works. And what's interesting is that these areas, because they're so used to boiling their water, this is like one of the rare times that they actually get to drink cold water. So that's one of the things that we notice is they take a drink of this clean water and it tastes really good because it's clean, and it's cold. And we've had many people comment about, this is cold. I never, I haven't had this before. So these filtration systems are literally saving lives and bringing about new experiences, and so it's a significant and emotional and life-changing part of our trip, as you know, Bart. I mean,
yeah, and that was totally my experience, because when I first saw this filter, and it just, we take so many things for granted. We certainly take water for granted, and we probably don't even drink enough of the water, and as we should. And these filters, they actually fit in the palm of your hand. They each cost about $50, but the impact is huge. I mean, like you said, one of these filters can absolutely take care of 100 people for the rest of their lives. And what's interesting is that there's so many systems out there, and I forget the name of this one, but so many companies and organizations are excited about all these water filters that they spread throughout the world, most of which only last for 2 or 3 years. These are lifetime things. These change people's lives, and that's one of the exciting things about this trip, is that the number of people that we get to impact. And on our last trip, I think we brought in about 50 filters. So that's 5,000 lives that are impacted, and then just think of the ripple effect of all those after them. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's a great part.
So tell us a little bit about some of the experiences that were that you had in Africa, as well as Ecuador. What are some of the incredible moments, incredible experiences, the life-changing themes, if you will, that happened?
Well, because we've designed these trips to serve messengers, people that have a message that they currently bring to the world, or whether they write a book or do coaching or live events or whatever. One of the things that we've done is that we've created this event called the Inspire event. It's a 2-day event where one day is all the people that are on the trip get to do a short talk on stage in front of an audience, and then on the second day they do a longer workshop, like a 60 or 90-minute workshop, to kind of take people deeper into their message. So there's 2 things that happens when we do that event. One is to give messengers who are used to being in their comfort zone in their life, whether it's sitting in their home office, coaching on the phone, or it's doing an event in their local city or whatever. It doesn't compare to, being in a completely different country where messages like they have are not readily available to the people that are there. And that's another thing we take for granted here, Bart, is we've got messages all around us. And we can just, hop on the internet or go to the bookstore or go to YouTube and watch, messages all day, every day. It's not the case in many parts of the world. In Africa, personal growth messages were unheard of. We were the very first group of people to bring a personal growth seminar to that country, as far as we know ever. So we have 400 teachers of all levels of education that teach kids and universities and that sort of thing come to listen to these talks and these messages. They've never heard about the law of attraction. They never heard about certain health things, business messages, you name it. They just those messages didn't. It was like you say. It's one of those things things that they know they don't, or they don't know that they don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then finally, when they're brought this, it's like it's powerful. So the two things that happen is, one is that the messengers are there and they don't know what to expect, other than they're going to do a talk and they're going to do a workshop, and now all of a sudden they're on stage in front of all these people that are hungry for this message in a way that they've never really experienced before. The people are not checking their cell phones while they're talking. They're engaged, to have an engaged audience and to see the transformation actually happen right there. Those messengers are never the same again, never. And then the audience is transformed too. So that's a really special part of it. Is that we did, in Africa, we did the 2-day event in front of 400 teachers in workshops the next day, where we went to a school, and a school unlike any school. I mean, it would be considered condemned in the United States, but it's a normal school over there, and broke into classrooms and everybody taught. And then in Ecuador, the trip that you were on, we spoke at the largest university there, on stage in front of faculty and students, and the same thing the next day, did some workshops. So, same plan in New Zealand, except for it's now a whole nother level. Now we've actually partnered up with a New Zealand organization over there, a nonprofit organization that serves and battered women, a very large and respected organization over there. And they have taken on promoting this event. They've rented a rugby stadium. And we're anticipating about 3,000 plus people to be in the audience for our talks. So we have messengers now. Not only are they going to be able to speak messages to a country who's hungry for messages, for personal growth messages, but they're going to be able to actually speak it in front of an audience that most will never have the opportunity to do in their career as a messenger that large. I mean, this is, an extraordinary opportunity for them to do that. So we're pumped about it. The next day we do workshops and in the stadium, and these, so it's crazy. It's just what's happening over there with this trip, with everybody that's going, is kind of blowing my mind.
That's incredible. And why is it incredible? Because, you have a group of people, and I think it's a total of about 30 people that you have, and I know that you have a few spots left. What's amazing is that you're going with a cohesive group that works together, tapping into their, collective wisdom, as I like to put it, and also what I say is working on generative collaboration, and really to navigate some of the very interesting experiences that you have, perhaps even some of the interesting challenges, because we had some challenges in Ecuador. You have challenges, on any trip that you go on.
Sure.
But what's really amazing, though, is that, as you said, you're going to a completely different country to speak to hundreds, if not thousands, of people. And that is truly transformative. Your life is never the same again because of that. And I do believe that within all of us, there's that desire to do good things for others. There's this desire to make a difference for other people. And then when you get that opportunity to do that, it just has an amazing ripple effect, because as a speaker, and if there's like 20 or 30 speakers on that stage impacting 3,000 people, as you say, you're sharing things about the things that they don't know. And that's also my tagline, on this platform, is one incredible experience they get to have. And then you get to even enhance and expand yourself beyond that when you go back home. And so not only do you have the opportunity to have a great adventure, but even more so, you have this opportunity to grow massively. I mean, there's this saying that there's the 20x factor within us. And most people don't even tap into that. And when you have adventures, when you have, opportunities like this, you have to, grab them, firmly and go with it. And that's why I think,
Yeah.
Wendy, I'm looking at Wendy again. You got to come with us.
I want to. When is it?
April 29th to May 13th, right?
Yeah. Well, April 30th through the May 13th. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. It's kind of shocking the number of people that I talk to, and they get the scope of this, because we're more than that, we're producing a TV show, a documentary, we're publishing a book, and a mobile app for all the people that are going, that's designed to promote their message. So the trip in and of itself is worth the time and the investment and that sort of thing. But then on top of that, to be involved in all these different platforms and projects that are going to blast their message out into the world in a bigger way is pretty awesome. In fact, we're gonna Facebook Live all the talks. So while they're speaking in front of 3,000 people, well, we may throw them in front of another whatever number of thousands of people, hopefully. So it's really it's a really amazing opportunity. I'm surprised by the number of people that have said no to it too. But when you're ready, you're ready. When you're not, you're not. That's the way it is.
What I'll do, and I'll make an attachment to this interview, one of the sizzle reels that you made of me talking about it. And in that sizzle reel, I pretty much say, it makes no sense not to go on a trip like this. Yeah. I mean, just, you don't get many opportunities like this. You don't get many, ways to experience the kinds of experiences that we get to have. And so today, what we did want to do is show some videos and pictures of past events and what people can expect in the future. Unfortunately, Facebook just updated their programming, and so there's a disconnect between Blue Jeans and Facebook. And so what we'll have to do is we'll post these things afterwards. So Robert, if you can do that, post some links and videos of some of the amazing things that you've done, because just watching those videos and it's just exciting. I mean, you just feel the urge, I got to go when you get to watch these videos. But what was interesting for me, and I'd like to share this, is because I've been very fortunate. I grew up in 5 different countries, actually speak 4 different languages. And when I was 17, I went to medical school back in Holland. That's where I'm originally from. And then I was in the halls of medicine, so to speak, for about 17 years. Didn't get out of it, just constant training, except for perhaps the first 2 years when I actually organized a relay run from Wales, which is on the west coast of Britain, all the way to Trieste in Italy. I took 30 people running across Europe in 10 days. But that was it. I didn't do any more, traveling or anything else. And so for years and years and years, so focused on my business, my practice, and plastic surgery and reconstruction and regeneration, I never had this chance to really expand and explore the world. And so I'm very fortunate that I now can do that, with, events like yours. And what's amazing about it too is that, most people think that this would cost thousands and thousands of dollars. And quite frankly, which it would with other organizations. And in your organization, it's incredibly affordable. And so anybody who is listening to this and has a desire to, have an incredible experience, out of this world experience, do things that they never thought were possible before, go to places that you rarely can go to, and even more so, have the growth, the expansion, and meet some incredible people. And you really need to check out, Robert Evans. And what's one of the best ways that they can find you? Is it liveyourlist.com?
Yeah, or actually, I would suggest, if especially in regards to New Zealand, that they just go to lifelistnewzealand.com. So that's life, L-I-F as in Frank E, list, L-I-S as in Sam, T as in Tom, newzealand.com. That has all the information about that. And I also want to mention, Bart, I think it's pretty darn cool that you got your daughter going on this trip too. So
yeah, that's another thing too, which is really, really exciting. And she's actually a collegiate athlete at Vanderbilt, and she's what I would say badass. I mean, she's only 19 years old. I mean, she is incredible. And so I asked her, says, okay, do you want to talk in front of 3,000 people? And she says, yeah, sure. She's actually a leader in her own right in soccer. And so, I asked her, okay, can you put something together? And I really wasn't sure what to expect. But literally within a couple of hours, she came back and said, what did she say? I asked her, give me about, 10 things that you want to talk about. And immediately she sprang off 10 things that she wanted to talk about. And the title of her talk is called Hope, HOPE, which means, hold on, pain ends. And it's really about her personal journey of success, if you will, in collegiate or collegiate soccer, if you will. I mean, she really plays at a national level, and how her heart and passion really helped her, navigate some of the challenges, that she's had in her short, 19 years of life. And it's quite remarkable, and inspirational just to listen to this girl who's only 19, have so much wisdom. And I'm not going to divulge, any of the things that she's going to talk about, because, I want it to come from her. So I'm definitely very excited and proud that she's coming along. And what's so neat about this is what people should really hear, what Robert is talking about, is that all of this is going to be captured on film and on video. And it's an opportunity to use that material and to carry on your message, but also to promote your business, get more exposure. And this is also the inspiration for me to realize that, one of the things in our world today is that we're just overwhelmed with so much information. And actually, a lot of it is misinformation. Look what's happening in this country right now. And this is not a political platform, but there's so much confusion. And so what I liked about many of the things that we did on the last trip is that people had this opportunity to share their views, share their voice authentically, genuinely, no agenda, no script, no filters, if you will. And what's nice about that is that people can totally relate to that, and then find the message within the story, the narrative that people are giving. And really, because of that, that was also the genesis for this platform, to really bring together, voices, new solutions, your transformation, so people can discover things that they really need to discover from regular people, just like you and me. We're so dependent on media today, and I'm not criticizing media, but a lot of it's scripted. There's agendas. There's very, diverse, or how should I put it, polarized opinions. And so sometimes it's really hard to know where you can get some useful information for yourself. And that's why I have this platform, just to listen to people like you, Robert, and whenever I get a chance, to people like Wendy, and just so people get to hear the real story. This is why it's called Real People, Real Conversations. So I have to thank you for that, Robert.
My pleasure, Bart. I mean, back at you, bud. Back at you.
But one of the interesting things too, and I'd like to get your feedback on this, is that, one of the things that I liked about these journeys is that they can also be unpredictable.
Yeah, that's for sure. All of them have been unpredictable, and I think that's those are the moments that are most powerful. And since you mentioned that, we'll talk about Ecuador. Ecuador, one of the moments there is we went up to the Andes to bring these water and do a water distribution, to bring these water filters, and we went up to an area in a community in the Andes that has never received an outside group, never invited an outside group to come into their community. And this is the first time. And so we arrived, and an amazing welcome, music, dance, their local food. They laid out a feast for us, literally laid it out on the ground. And And so, part of the plan was when we're kind of logistically behind the scenes, we were like, okay, we're bringing these water filtration systems. I think we brought them like 20 of them, to be able to serve all these different areas and communities around there. And we just said, okay, where is your water source close by? And they said, yes, it's close by. And so we can kind of walk there and that sort of thing. And they said, yeah, no problem, easy to walk there. And they said, we also have some horses. So if people want to get on some horses, then we can take them there on the horses. So we arrive, and all of that was figured out. We hadn't had a chance to, check out the location first. We had this amazing experience, and we're all excited to go. And there was about 5 or 6 horses, little scrawny horses, I guess you could say. There was a couple that were like should have been retired, but they weren't. And so we're putting some people on horses, and that was a little skittish. So I'm crossing my fingers and
Yeah, I was one of them.
Checking my insurance and making sure that I was all up to date. And we just started to walk. We're like, okay, we're walking to the water hole. Well, their version of close by and an easy walk is very different than our version, anybody's version, really, because this is what they do. I mean, they bound up and down mountains, and literally we start walking, we start going down this mountain, the switchbacks. I mean, probably 100 switchbacks. We hiked down the mountain at 2,000 feet. It was a 2,000-foot hike down the mountain to the water source there.
And this is at a very high altitude already.
Very high altitude. We're already up there in that 10,000-foot range. So one is that everybody is like going, where's the water hole? When is it coming? I can barely breathe. How am I going to get back up? I think that was the most common question: is how are we going to get back up? And so, but here's the thing. It was a hell of an experience. I mean, to go down there and then to realize we have to go back up, and for some people that was an unbelievable, powerful task, hard, stressful. But when we did our interviews later, and we did amazing things, we went into the Amazon, we did some incredible things. The one moment, the most powerful moment of that trip that stood out for everybody was that day with the Andes, was that stressful, literally physically stressful experience. And it was totally unexpected. It was not, and by the way, if we would have known that that's what it was, we wouldn't have done it. We just no way we would have done it. Now that we know how powerful it was, we would do it, because that was the day that everybody remembered the most. That was the day that pushed everybody way past their comfort zone and stretched them in ways that they didn't think was possible, but they did it. At the end, it turned out okay, and it was life-changing. So yeah, stuff like that. And putting on trips, typically we want things to go smoothly. So I'm hoping New Zealand's going to have 99% smooth, but of course we like to have comfort zone stretched. And no doubt in my mind, speaking in front of 3,000 plus people, that's going to be comfort zone stretching. And sleeping, among the Maori people, outside of a comfortable hotel room, right, Wendy? That's going to be comfort zone stretching. So
and the spirits,
and the spirits, and that are watching you with their golden eyes. So yeah, it's all part of it.
Yeah, it's and I think it's that whole unpredictability, and I sort of talk about that in my interview with you, and I'm going to post that on this page, because that's where the magic really happens. And it's the unpredictability is also, I mean, there is a danger in it too, but that's what makes it especially exciting, and to find that you can overcome these things and grow, because of that. And I knew that I was very challenged at that time. I mean, I'm a little older than most, and I haven't worked out in years, and here I am, having to climb another 2,000 feet, at a very high altitude. And fortunately, I was very creative, and I snagged one of the horses very quickly.
And by the
And
way,
then,
that amplified the danger by a factor of 10.
yeah,
Think, hey, let's just
but
slow
I,
down the horses.
but yeah, and people can't appreciate it unless they see how steep it was, and
Yeah,
how treacherous it was,
edges.
because big boulders and big rocks and a lot of people walking by this horse, and it was interesting experience because at one point there was this little girl and she was a native there, and I think she must have been 6 or 7 years old, and she was whining and crying, and because she didn't want to walk up the mountain, she wanted a horse. And so at one point I said, okay, fine, just join me. And so I had her, sit in front of me on the horse, and then the horse was okay with it. But what happened was a couple of young kids, were goofing off and totally freaked out the horse. I don't think you saw this.
No, I was down at the bottom
And
gasping as
and
I
the
was on the
horse
way up.
fell and
Oh,
and fell, and we both fell off, and she flipped backwards and I flipped sideways. And here I'm seeing this big horse coming towards me. Unfortunately, missed it. But you know what? That's part of what life is all about. And nobody gets hurt. Nobody did get hurt, and you wouldn't have these kinds of experiences. And what I thought was also remarkable about this experience, and this was also transformative for myself and my own personal growth, is that even with these challenges, or just challenging people, if you will, or people with their stuff that's going on, it's exciting to see how you get to show up. It's exciting to see where you can grow. It's exciting to see, what's going on inside of you. And I think for me, that was the hugest impact as well, is that how we get to work with a lot of different people, with different viewpoints, different perspectives, different needs, and still find a lot of harmony within that space, and just create some incredible experiences. And again, the work that Robert Evans and I have to give credit to Sprite Loriano as well,
for sure.
your co-organizer, your colleague in all of this, and for Sprite Global, I think is her organization. And I'll certainly put a link on here. I mean, she's a highly motivated person to help the world, especially with water solutions. And I think she works with the water bearers worldwide. And I think she's going to Nicaragua soon, with a trip as well. Are you going on that trip?
No, no.
Okay.
She's in Liberia, Africa, doing some work over there. So yeah, she's amazing. She's one of the original founders of the Water Bearers, and it's an organization of women from all over the world that have committed to bringing clean water to, over 1 million people, each year. So it's incredible work. So.
And the whole thing about all of this is that, it's actually not that hard. It's actually not that expensive. And the experiences, the payback is just enormous.
It's a decision, Bart. That's what it is. It's a decision. And some people use, and in their mind, I see how it's justified. They use things like, I can't afford it, I don't have the time, and that sort of thing. But when you make the decision, even if you don't have the money or you don't have the time, things line up. So ultimately, it boils down to it just being a decision. If you're called to something, if you want to have experiences like what we're talking about here, if you want to live outside of your box that you're in, your comfort zone, it boils down to a decision. And that's what everybody does here. I mean, it's rare that we come across someone that decides to do something like this with us. It's not a struggle, but for them to get to that point. But ultimately, they just decided, and then once they did, the universe lined things up for them. So that's what it is.
Yes, yeah, you're absolutely right. Do you have any questions, Wendy? You're so quiet.
I'm really just absorbing all this in. It's quite amazing.
Just so you know, this is a major sales pitch for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, between Robert and myself.
Well, I got to figure out how much is it to go. Can I ask? Like say to go to, because you're talking about it, but you don't say what it is.
Well, I do that purposely because I can talk to you offline about that because it's in the conversation. See, when we talk to people about being on this trip, we talk to them specifically about how it helps them, how it helps their work, their message, them as an individual. And people make decisions when they hear numbers, immediate decisions, like, oh, there's no way that I could do that. And it's very affordable. I mean, for what is being delivered, anywhere else it would be tens of thousands of dollars, you know.
Yeah.
And we basically bring it in so we cover our costs, and we can produce these things. So I purposely don't say the cost, because people will decide based off of that, and I want to have that conversation with them so that they understand the costs. If it should not be a factor. I mean, it might be a factor, but it can not be a factor if they see it from a particular perspective. So Wendy, you and I, let's talk.
But let me answer it in a different way, right? Because if you look at the cost of many of these trips, vacations, let's call them vacations out there, the cost is very, very comparable. And because we're going in a group, you get 10 times the experience, if not 20 times the experience you would get on a normal vacation. So just think of what a normal vacation for about 7 to 10 days would be, right? And that's sort of what your cost is going to be about. But then again, the experience is 10 times or 100-fold more. And what's amazing too is that just from a production perspective, and Robert brings a professional team of photographers and videographers, on the trip, capturing all the different moments. And so pretty much your entire trip is captured on film, that you then get to have part of that. I mean, you don't get the whole film, but you get parts of it, the magic moments, the best moments. And if you get a chance, just watch my sizzle reel and some of the other sizzle reels that will attach, to this interview afterwards, because they're just so much fun. And the people, the experiences, it's life-changing for everyone that gets to go on this thing. And that's why I say, these experiences are priceless. And it would make no sense, as I say in the video again, it makes no sense not to go on something like this. It makes no sense just to find out what this is really all about. It makes no sense to shortchange and, deprive of yourself of some of the most incredible experiences that you can potentially have. Now, if you're that person that already has it, then guess what? Come with us anyhow, because it'll be different. Because it'll be different because of the group that get to go. Because this trip is about transformation. But it's also about transforming other people's lives. It's about giving back. It's about paying forward. It's about a lot of different things. And then that opportunity to find more about who you are in this world. Because I can guarantee you go on this trip, like I went on this trip, and it's been transformative, for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, I want to go.
You want to go?
I want to go. See if I can make it happen.
Better make it happen. I know Rob will take special care for you.
Yeah. So we'll talk. We'll talk, Wendy, for sure.
So how much time do we have left? Is it 1 minute? I haven't seen your fingers.
I know, I got so involved. Yeah, there's 1 minute left.
There's 1 minute. So, Robert, 30 seconds for any last words.
Well, I mean, whether or not someone's interested in being on one of our trips or not, I hope at the very least from this conversation, people will walk away creating their list, and expanding upon that list, because, that's what it's about. It's about us living our list. It's living extraordinary lives. It's being conscious in doing that. And part of being conscious is knowing what you want. And a list is always evolving. It's never a set list. I mean, you'll think of something tomorrow or the next day, a week from now, a year from now. As you evolve, as you experience things, it's going to change. Make it about your, relationships, your health, your adventure, your travel, the work that you do in the world, the difference that you make in people's lives. So do that. And then, of course, if you're interested in being a part of what we've been talking about here, I'd love to have a conversation with you about it, because I can guarantee that your life will never be the same again.
Love it. Love it. Well, with those words, Robert, thank you so much. And to wrap it up, Wendy, I am Dr. Bart Rademaker, prescription for your transformation. Hashtag real people, hashtag real conversations, and I added a new hashtag real success. Tapping into the brain intelligence, the body intelligence, and energy intelligence, finding out how you can tap into your authentic genius, live the life that you desire, and make it extraordinary. Thank you both.
Thank you, Bart. Thank you, Wendy.